Welcome to the Business Finance Bulletin, episode 124. Welcome again to the latest Business Finance Bulletin with me, Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services. In this week's bulletin, we're taking a look at alternative finance, selling equity in your business, late payment, and cash flow summertime blues. Have you ever left your bank with a no ringing in your ears after asking for finance? Well, according to alternative finance provider Amicus, from a recent survey they conducted, 16% of business owners said they've had a no from their bank. And in fact, that's up from 11% in 2015. So you can see it's a growing problem. So what issue has that left many business owners with? Well, according to Amicus and the survey, 31% of business owners said that they were unable to grasp an opportunity when it was presented to them because they couldn't get finance quick enough. And in fact, 15% of those surveyed said that they felt banks could not make quick decisions. Well, that is the case. Banks are just not geared up for making snap decisions. And of course, when you've got a fast-growing business, when you need fast decisions, that doesn't work for you. And of course, that's where alternative finance providers come in, such as crowdfunding, asset finance, and invoice discounting. All of these ones are structured to give much quicker answers. So the lesson here is plan ahead. If you think you're going to have a need for finance coming up, make sure you look around. Don't just assume that the only place you can go to is your bank. Check out all the alternative sources of finance available to you. One source of funding for growing businesses which never carries much favour is that of selling shares within your business, selling equity. As we know, many UK business owners don't relish the thought of giving up control by selling shares in their business, but it brings with it a lot of advantages. The key one being it's cash into your business that doesn't have to be immediately repaid, and so it allows you to leverage your business up much quicker and get onto a faster growth path. I said it's never really been favoured, but perhaps the tide is beginning to turn. And according to a new report just out by the British Business Bank as part of its annual equity tracker report, it found that in 2015 there was a 58% increase in the amount of equity put into UK small businesses. Now that's a huge increase in 1 year. So which businesses are benefiting? Well, it's technology, life sciences and software. In fact, there was a 41% increase in the amount of money invested in these businesses. What about overall? Well, they estimate that about £3.5 billion was injected into businesses after sale of equity. So you can see, not an insignificant sum of money. So the message here is, don't discount selling equity. It is a valuable way of being able to access funding that not only brings in cash, but can also bring new ideas and blood around the boardroom table, more minds in which to tap into in order to plan for your growth. So just think, next time you need cash, could you sell shares in your business? Turning now to our old friend of late payment. Now, whenever I talk about late payment in these bulletins, it's normally in the context of the late payers being other small businesses. But of course, many businesses are dealing with individuals like you or I. An interesting survey caught my eye this week, carried out by Echo Managed Services, and it took a different slant on this and took a look at the consumer market. And guess what? They found that 41% of late payments amongst consumers were simply down to the individual forgetting to pay. It's not a case of, like that TV program, can't pay, won't pay. It's more forgot to pay. And so, interestingly also, the survey found that the prevalence of late payment was higher amongst the higher earners, the ones in the £40,000 plus bracket. So the key message here is communication. Make sure you regularly communicate with your clients, because whilst you may make the assumption that they can't pay, it may be just purely down to they're busy and they forgot. And so regular chasing and reminding from you can make the difference between a late payer and somebody who pays up on time. So get your communication processes right and don't be afraid to pick up the phone and chase for the payment that is due to you. Well, summer is fast approaching, and for some small business owners, they're rubbing their hands with joy, thinking, yes, the busy season is upon us. But for many small businesses, it's the opposite. It's a case of summertime blues, or should it be cash flow summertime blues? Why is that? Well, interestingly, a survey that's been carried out by Hitachi Capital Invoice Finance found that many businesses do suffer during July, and there is an increase in the amount of businesses looking to supplement working capital via finance. Why is that? Well, for some businesses, summertime in July and August do see a dip in sales. But also, when their clients are away, sometimes payments can be made late, and so that further impacts on cash flow. So what's the solution here? Well, it goes back to one of my previous tips earlier in the bulletin, which is about planning ahead. If you are a seasonal business where business does tail away during the summer period, sit down and plan ahead in terms of cash flow. Just think about how much are sales likely to dip compared to where they were last year. Am I likely to see any late payers because you know it's a small firm who owes you a particularly large sum of money, and it's more likely that they are going to be away and so not get that checkbook and pay what's due. So sit down, plan your cash flow ahead, and if you do see a gap, plan now. Pick up the phone, arrange your finance early in order to make sure that you're not scrambling around at the last minute in order to fill a hole. Of course, if you do think you're going to be in that position, you can of course just get in touch with us, info@businessloanservices.co.uk, and we can easily and happily point you in the right direction. So don't get caught up in cash flow summertime blues. Plan ahead. Well, that's it for this bulletin, and as ever, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and a share on social media. It all helps. So, of course, if you are watching the bulletin version, don't forget we've got a podcast version available on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And if you're watching on podcast, you can watch me live by going to our YouTube channel. Just search for Rob Warlow on YouTube, and there you will find this episode and all past episodes. So that's it for this week. Thanks very much for being with me. Have a great, successful, and profitable week. Look forward to being with you again next week. Bye bye now.